You're not broken. You're not antisocial. And no, it's not just in your head. Have you ever walked into a crowded room and felt like you didn't belong? Like you were physically present but somehow detached from the people around you? Conversations feel hollow. Small talk drains you. And the noise of everyday interactions leaves you exhausted. You watch as others move through life effortlessly, forming connections with ease. But for you, something feels off. It's as if there's an invisible barrier between you and the rest of the world. This feeling isn't random. It isn't a personality flaw. It's a sign of something deeper. The reason why social interactions feel different for you isn't about being introverted or picky about people. It's because your awareness has shifted. You're starting to see and feel things that most people don't even notice. And once you awaken to this truth, there's no going back. Keep watching, because what you're about to learn will change everything. Have you ever sensed something was off about someone before they even spoke? Or noticed the tension in a room before anyone else picked up on it? You don't just observe the world, you feel it. Every shift in tone, every unspoken emotion, every undercurrent of energy doesn't escape you. While others move through life unaware, you pick up on the subtle vibrations beneath the surface. This isn't just a heightened sense of perception. It's an entirely different way of experiencing reality. At first, you might have thought everyone felt this way. You assumed that others noticed the same things you did, that they too could sense the energy of a space the moment they walked in. But then you realize something most people don't. They carry on with their conversations, unaware of the deeper layers of reality surrounding them. They don't see past the surface, and they certainly don't feel what you feel. This awareness is both a blessing and a burden. On one hand, it allows you to understand people on a profound level. You can see beyond their words, beyond their masks, beyond their carefully curated facades. You can tell when someone is truly happy or just pretending. You can sense when someone is hurting, even when they smile. But on the other hand, this awareness comes at a cost, because when you perceive more, you also absorb more. The energy of a room doesn't just surround you, it seeps into you. When someone is anxious, you feel it. When someone is angry, it lingers in your chest. And when a space is filled with chaotic energy, it doesn't just exist around you, it exists within you. The more aware you become, the harder it is to separate yourself from the frequencies that surround you. And this is where the disconnect begins. While others can laugh at small talk and go about their day unaffected, you find yourself drained by meaningless conversations. You crave depth, authenticity, and truth. Shallow interactions feel unbearable because you see beyond the words. You feel the lack of connection, the absence of genuine emotion, the hollow repetition of social scripts, and it leaves you exhausted. This exhaustion isn't just social fatigue, it's energetic overload. Your body, mind, and spirit are working overtime to process everything you take in. That's why certain people leave you feeling depleted, while others uplift you. It's why you sometimes need days to recover from a single event. It's why silence and solitude feel like oxygen, because they're the only times you can finally hear yourself think, finally reset, finally breathe. Some people will call this sensitivity. Some will tell you that you're just overreacting, overanalyzing, or being too much. But what they don't realize is that what they call sensitivity is actually a gift, an ability to perceive what others are blind to. It's the reason you see what's hidden, sense what's unspoken, and understand people on a level they don't even understand themselves. But there's a reason why this isn't widely talked about. There are some things that are simply too deep for YouTube. If you want access to hidden knowledge and exclusive insights, sign up for our free newsletter, Insights Academy. You'll also receive a free copy of the Kybalion, a powerful book on ancient wisdom, but only for a limited time. Link is in the description. And this is only the beginning. The more you awaken, the more you'll realize that your discomfort in social settings isn't random. It's not a phase. It's not something to fix. It's the result of something much deeper, something most people will never experience. But once you understand why, everything will start to make sense. You walk into a room, and before a single word is spoken, you already feel it. The energy, the tension, the unspoken emotions lingering in the air. Conversations begin, and within minutes, you feel yourself fading, like your mind is slowly detaching, like your soul is screaming for an escape. It's not just exhaustion, it's something deeper. People tell you it's normal to feel socially drained, that you just need to get out more or be more open. But you know better. This isn't about being introverted or shy. This isn't about needing to loosen up. It's about the fact that most conversations feel like static noise in a world where you crave something real. Small talk is unbearable. Discussions about the weather, weekend plans, or celebrity gossip feel meaningless. You're not uninterested in people. You're uninterested in shallow connections. While others can glide through surface-level interactions, you find them exhausting. You don't want to talk about things that don't matter. You want to talk about the why behind human behavior, about the universe, about the things people feel but never say out loud. But society isn't built for depth. It's built for convenience, for social scripts, for keeping interactions polite and predictable. People aren't encouraged to be vulnerable, to be real, to be raw. Instead, they perform. They wear masks. They say what they're supposed to say, not what they truly mean, and you see right through it. This is why social settings drain you. It's not because you dislike people. It's because you feel everything. The nervous energy of the person across the room, the forced enthusiasm in someone's voice, the tension between two people pretending to be fine. Every bit of unspoken energy, you absorb it like a sponge, and most of the time, it's too much. But it's not just about what you sense. It's about what you lose. The more energy you absorb from others, the less of your own remains. After a few hours, you're left feeling empty, like you've been carrying a weight that isn't even yours, like you've been plugged into an electrical socket that has completely drained your power. And this is why you crave solitude, not because you don't enjoy human connection, but because most connections are draining, not nourishing. Because being around too many people for too long leaves you depleted, unbalanced, and disconnected from yourself. Because the world is loud and all you want is silence. But here's what no one tells you. This isn't a weakness. The fact that you feel this way doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your awareness has expanded. It means you've reached a point in your evolution where surface-level energy no longer satisfies you. You're no longer drawn to noise. You're drawn to truth. And the deeper you go, the more you'll start to see it. The way most people distract themselves from their own emptiness. The way they chase stimulation because they're terrified of sitting in silence with their own thoughts. They keep their schedules full, their conversations light, their minds entertained, anything to avoid facing what's inside. But you can't do that anymore. Because once you've seen past the illusion, you can't unsee it. Once you've felt the difference between a real connection and an artificial one, there's no going back. This is why certain people uplift you while others leave you feeling completely drained. It's why you find comfort in being alone, not because you dislike people, but because you refuse to lower your energy to fit into a world that no longer resonates with you. And that's the truth no one talks about. The fact that once you awaken, the world doesn't feel the same anymore, and neither do the people in it. At first, you might have thought it was just a phase, that maybe you were just going through a rough patch, that eventually you'd feel normal again. You tried to force yourself to fit in, to engage in conversations that felt empty, to ignore the exhaustion that came from being around people who didn't truly see you. But no matter how hard you tried, something inside you had already shifted. And here's the truth, it's not a phase, it's a transformation. What you're experiencing isn't just social exhaustion. It's not just introversion or emotional burnout. It's the result of something far more profound, a spiritual awakening, a shift in consciousness that changes how you perceive the world, the people in it, and your place within it. For most of your life, you probably saw things the way you were taught to see them. You followed the rules of engagement, smiled when expected, spoke when necessary, and navigated social situations just like everyone else. But at some point, something changed. You started questioning things. Why do we interact the way we do? Why does everything feel so scripted? Why does no one seem to be truly present? That questioning was the first sign of awakening. Because once you begin to wake up, the illusions start to crumble. You begin to realize that most people are operating on autopilot, repeating the same conversations, following the same routines, living inside the same patterns. They aren't really thinking. They aren't really feeling. They're just moving through life the way they've been programmed to. But you started seeing through it all. The way social interactions are often just a performance. The way people cling to identities that don't truly reflect them. The way the world prioritizes appearances over authenticity. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. That's why you feel the disconnect. That's why you struggle in social settings that once felt fine. It's because you're no longer operating at the same frequency. Before, you could tolerate small talk. Now it feels unbearable. Before, you could laugh along with the crowd. Now you see the emptiness in it. Before you could blend in. Now you feel like an outsider looking in. This shift isn't just happening in your mind. It's happening in your energy. As you awaken, your vibrational frequency rises, and that means you start resonating with different things. You crave depth, truth, and meaning. You need conversations that stimulate your mind and relationships that nourish your soul. And anything less feels suffocating. But here's the part most people don't realize. The more you awaken, the more isolated you might feel at first. Not because you've become antisocial, but because you're aligning with a higher state of consciousness while most of the world is still asleep. You'll notice that your old friendships no longer feel the same. That places you once enjoyed now feel draining. That even simple interactions, like going to a crowded mall or attending a social event, feel overwhelming. It's not that you've changed in a negative way. It's that you're no longer a match for the energy you once tolerated. And that's where most people struggle. Because when this happens, you start to feel like there's something wrong with you. You start to wonder if you're too sensitive, too distant, too different. But the truth is, you are evolving. Most people spend their entire lives seeking validation, approval, and acceptance from the world around them. But once you awaken, those things no longer hold the same weight. You no longer feel the need to belong to a system that feels out of alignment with your soul. And that's the key. Your soul is calling for something higher. You are not here to simply exist. You are here to grow, to expand, to connect with those who truly resonate with you. So if you feel disconnected from the world, don't fight it. Embrace it. It means you are shifting. It means you are shedding the old version of yourself that once fit into a system that no longer serves you. And most importantly, it means you are stepping into a new reality, one where connections are built on truth, where relationships feel real, and where your soul is no longer weighed down by the expectations of a world that doesn't understand you. This isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of something greater. For most of your life, you've probably been told that you're too sensitive, that you overthink things, that you read too much into people's words, expressions, and energy. But what if the very thing you've been made to feel ashamed of is actually your greatest power? You see, most people navigate the world through logic, through what they can see, touch, and prove. But you've always felt your way through life. You pick up on unspoken emotions, subtle energy shifts, and the vibrations of the people around you. You sense when someone is lying, even if their words are convincing. You know when someone is struggling, even if they're smiling. And when you walk into a room, you don't just notice the environment, you absorb it. At first, you might have thought this was normal, that everyone else felt things as deeply as you did. But as time passed, you started to realize they don't. Most people are completely unaware of the energetic currents around them. They take words at face value, they ignore the tension in the air, and they move through life without ever questioning the energy they give or receive. But you know better. And that's where the struggle begins. Because when you feel everything, it's easy to become overwhelmed. It's easy to feel drained in crowded places, to absorb other people's emotions as if they were your own, to feel the weight of energy that others don't even notice. And the worst part, most of the time, you don't even realize it's happening. That's why, after social interactions, you often feel exhausted, like you've been carrying a weight that was never yours to begin with. It's why being around certain people leaves you completely drained, even if they didn't say anything negative. It's why you crave solitude, not because you dislike people, but because it's the only time you can hear your own energy again. But here's the thing, this isn't a weakness. It's a rare and powerful ability. Most people go through life unaware, disconnected from themselves and the world around them. But you have an awareness that allows you to see beyond the surface, to sense what's real and what's not, to read between the lines of human interactions in a way that others can't. This is why you instinctively know who to trust and who to avoid, why certain people make you feel instantly at peace, while others make you feel uneasy without even knowing why. Your energy picks up on what your mind cannot always explain. And in a world full of deception, where people wear masks and say things they don't mean, this ability is invaluable. But like any gift, it comes with responsibility. If you don't learn to manage it, it can feel like a burden instead of a power. That's why some days you feel completely depleted without knowing why. Why certain environments feel suffocating, even if nothing bad is happening. Why, after spending time with certain people, you feel emotionally and physically exhausted. Because you're not just processing your own energy, you're carrying the weight of everyone else's too. So what's the solution? It's not to shut yourself off from the world. It's not to ignore your gift or suppress what makes you different. It's to learn how to control it. You wouldn't leave your front door open for anyone to walk in and take what they want. But energetically, that's exactly what you've been doing. You've been absorbing everything, without filtering, without boundaries. But that changes now, because once you start recognizing your energy sensitivity as a strength, you begin to protect it, refine it, and use it wisely. You learn how to set boundaries, not just physically, but energetically. You become aware of the difference between your emotions and the emotions you've picked up from others. You stop giving away your energy to people who drain you, and you start surrounding yourself with those who nourish you. And that's when everything changes. Because once you take control of your energy, you stop feeling like the world is too much to handle. You stop feeling exhausted after every interaction. You stop doubting yourself and start trusting what you feel. And most importantly, you stop seeing your sensitivity as a problem, because it was never a problem. It was a power you just didn't know how to use. For so long, you've been walking through life without realizing just how much energy you've been giving away. Every conversation, every interaction, every moment spent absorbing the emotions of others, it all adds up. And without even noticing, you've been carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours. But now, something has changed. You're no longer just surviving, you're waking up. You're realizing that your energy is sacred, that not everyone deserves access to it, that the exhaustion you've been feeling isn't just from social interactions, it's from the lack of boundaries that have left you wide open to the world. And that's where everything shifts, because once you start protecting your energy, you stop feeling drained all the time. You stop carrying emotions that don't belong to you. You stop feeling like the world is too much, because for the first time, you're taking back control. The first step, recognizing what's yours and what isn't. Have you ever left a conversation feeling anxious, even though nothing was wrong before? Have you ever felt suddenly sad, irritated, or exhausted for no reason? That's not you. It's the energy you've absorbed. And unless you actively release it, it lingers. It weighs you down. It clouds your thoughts, emotions, and even your sense of self. That's why protecting your energy isn't just important, it's essential. Start by being mindful of who you spend time with. Energy is contagious. When you surround yourself with people who are constantly complaining, negative, or emotionally chaotic, that energy seeps into you. It affects your mood, your mindset, your entire state of being. And the truth is, not everyone deserves access to your energy. Some people only take. They drain you, leave you feeling empty, and never give anything in return. These are the people who pull you down with their problems but never seek solutions, who offload their emotions onto you but never take responsibility for them, who keep you in cycles of exhaustion and depletion. But you have a choice. You don't have to be available to everyone. You don't have to be the emotional dumping ground for people who refuse to change. You are allowed to walk away from conversations that drain you, relationships that exhaust you, and environments that feel heavy with negativity. And this doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise, because every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what restores you, to conversations that uplift you, to people who energize you, to spaces where you feel light, free, and in tune with yourself. The second step, ground yourself. When you absorb energy from others, it can leave you feeling ungrounded and disconnected from yourself. That's why it's crucial to have practices that bring you back into balance. Spending time in nature, walking barefoot on the earth, meditating, even for just 5 minutes, visualizing your energy being cleansed and restored. These small actions may seem simple, but they are powerful because they help you separate who you are from what you've absorbed. And the final step? Creating an energetic shield. Think of it like locking your doors at night. You don't do it because you're paranoid, you do it because it's common sense. The same applies to your energy. Before entering a social setting, take a moment to visualize a protective barrier around you. Imagine it as a shield of light, strong, impenetrable, keeping out any energy that isn't yours. Set the intention. I choose what I allow into my space. I release anything that doesn't serve me, and you will start to notice a shift. The same rooms that once drained, you won't feel as overwhelming. The same people who once exhausted you won't have the same effect, because for the first time, you are in control of your energy. And that's the key. You were never meant to take on the weight of the world. You were never meant to carry other people's emotions as if they were your own. You are here to live in your own energy, your own truth, your own power. So stop giving your energy away so freely. Protect it, value it, treat it as something sacred, because the moment you start doing that, everything changes. There comes a moment in every awakening where you realize you no longer fit into the world the way you used to. The conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. The people you once felt close to now seem distant. The life you once lived now feels like a faded memory of someone you used to be. At first, it's unsettling. You wonder why you feel so disconnected, why the things that once brought you joy no longer resonate. You start to question yourself. Am I changing too much? Am I losing myself? Why do I feel so alone in this? But here's the truth, you're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself. This is what spiritual evolution feels like. When your awareness expands, your world shifts. The things that once felt normal now feel foreign. The people who were once aligned with you now seem like they belong to a different reality. And in many ways they do. Because awakening isn't just about seeing the world differently. It's about shifting into a new vibration entirely. And when that happens, it's natural to feel alone at first. But you are not alone. Right now, all over the world, there are people experiencing this exact same shift. People who are waking up to the truth of who they are. People who feel the same disconnection, the same craving for depth, the same need to break free from the illusions of the past. You may not see them, but they exist. And as you continue your journey, you will start to find them. Because the more you align with your truth, the more the universe aligns you with others who share that truth. But that alignment comes with a choice between clinging to the past or stepping fully into who you are meant to become. Many people resist this change. They fight it. They try to force themselves to fit back into their old lives, their old friendships, their old routines. They tell themselves that maybe if they just try harder, they can go back to the way things were. But deep down, they know the truth. You can't go back, and you're not meant to. This journey is not about shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown. It's about expanding into the life that is waiting for you. That means letting go letting go of the need to force connections that no longer resonate, letting go of the guilt that comes with outgrowing people, letting go of the idea that solitude means loneliness, when in reality it means clarity. Because the moment you stop trying to hold on to what no longer serves you, you create space for what is truly meant for you. And that's when everything starts to change. You'll start attracting people who understand you without explanation, people who crave the same depth, the same truth, the same authenticity, people who don't just tolerate your energy but nurture it. And that's when you'll realize you were never truly alone. You were just searching for the right people all along. So don't resist this transformation. Embrace it. Trust that the universe is guiding you exactly where you need to be. Trust that every person, every experience, every moment of solitude is preparing you for something greater. Because the people who are meant for you, they are out there, and they are searching for you too. And when the time is right, you will find each other. There will come a moment when everything makes sense, when the loneliness, the exhaustion, the disconnect from the world you once knew suddenly feels less like a burden and more like a revelation. You'll look back at the times you felt out of place, the moments you questioned your own sanity, and you'll realize you weren't broken. You were awakening. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to silence your truth just to make others comfortable. You were never meant to dim your light to fit into a world that thrives on artificiality. You were meant to see beyond the illusion, to feel the undercurrents of energy that most people ignore, to navigate life with an awareness that sets you apart. And while that awareness may feel heavy at times, it is also your greatest gift. Because the world needs people like you, people who don't just follow the script, people who question, who seek, who feel in ways most never will, people who refuse to accept shallow connections, who crave truth, who bring depth and authenticity into a world that desperately lacks it. So don't shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Don't silence your knowing just because others can't understand it. Don't convince yourself that you have to change in order to be accepted. The right people, the right connections, the right experiences, they will come, but only if you stay true to yourself. You weren't given this awareness by accident. You were given it because you are meant to use it, to create, to inspire, to lead, to walk a path that isn't always easy, but is undeniably real. And as you embrace that truth, as you stand fully in the power of who you are, you will realize this journey was never about isolation. It was about transformation. Because the more you align with your true self, the more you attract those who see you, who understand you, who speak the same language of the soul. And that's when you'll know. You were never truly alone. You were just waking up. But there's more to this awakening than what we can share here. Some knowledge is too valuable, too deep to be spoken about freely. That's why we created Insights Academy, a place where we reveal what can't be said on YouTube. Sign up for free and receive a copy of The Kybalion, but only for a limited time. The link is in the description. And if this video resonated with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it."